What's going on, everybody? It looks like we're finishing the week here with a red day. Are you surprised? We're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at CleanSpark, Microstrategy, and Coinbase. We do have some patterns that have recently broken, and we also have a couple articles I want to look over. Peter Brandt has a huge bullish price prediction. There's also an article talking about using Bitcoin to cover national debt. But let's get started, guys. Hopefully you're having a good Friday despite this red day. If you get something useful out of this, you know what to do, and let's get started. And first off, Bitcoin, it looks like we're starting to break this pattern, and it seems like we're starting to get a little reaction to it. If we see some more pullback over the weekend, I think 65,000 is possible. It's right here at our 50 MA, and it's also right here at this ascending support. You'll see that we bounced off this zone multiple times back in January here, and very recently back in early May. I do expect this zone to hold up. And I do think Bitcoin would be a good pickup here at 65 if we see it over the weekend. And heck, I mean, even where it's at here, 66,000, 70,000, does it really matter if you're looking over the next 5 years? I don't think so. We also have this article going over how Trump is interested in using Bitcoin to solve the national debt problem. And let me start out by saying I'm going to stay completely out of politics. You guys feel free to say what you want, but I personally believe the two-party system is divisive. I think the tribalism needs to go. We need to find a way to work together, but that's never going to happen. It's like the red versus blue gang. We're never going to get along, and it is what it is. But anyways, Trump inquired about solving the US national debt problem with Bitcoin. And according to David Bailey, the CEO of Bitcoin magazine, he said that when he met Trump, the first thing he asked me was like, hey, can Bitcoin do anything about the $35 trillion debt? I was like, we have some ideas, but we're not talking about that in the first meeting.
Hey, David. Did you pitch to Trump the RFK plan to partially back the dollar with Bitcoin? Did you pitch that to him?
So no, not yet. But when we met, the first thing he asked me was like, "Hey, can Bitcoin do anything about the $35 trillion debt?" I was like, "We have some ideas, but we're going to talk about that in the first meeting."
But politics aside, what do you think about that? What do you think about potentially using Bitcoin to solve the national debt problem? Is it a possibility? Is it something that we would one day explore? Is it something that we will never consider? What are your thoughts on it? You couldn't have convinced me a few years ago that we would even be having this discussion. Moving right along, we have to talk about how Peter Brandt expects a 230% Bitcoin price increase, bringing Bitcoin to over $234,000. And Peter Brandt expects this 230% rise against gold. Currently, the Bitcoin to gold ratio sits around 29, meaning it takes 29 ounces of gold worth $68,000 to purchase one Bitcoin. Peter Brandt expects this ratio to triple to 100 ounces after Bitcoin's next consolidation phase ends. This would mean a $234,000 Bitcoin. You know, now that Bitcoin spot ETFs are live, now that institutions are getting in, now that banks want a part of it, now that companies like Similar Scientific, Microstrategy, they're adopting this Bitcoin strategy, they're utilizing Bitcoin in their treasury. If we see more and more companies, more and more countries even doing this, Bitcoin can definitely continue gaining steam over gold. And honestly, you know, you have to take a step back and think about how far Bitcoin has come now. I mean, we are now talking about companies buying Bitcoin, countries buying Bitcoin, state pension funds. I mean, if you would have told me this would all be happening by now, and if you said this 5 years ago, I would say, I don't believe you. I would say you're crazy. It has to take longer than that. But no, here we are. The world is adopting Bitcoin. I do want to bring up CleanSpark real quick. It does look like we're breaking this pattern. We are seeing a reaction on the break of this pattern. Like I said previously, you know, this has been a great swing. If you buy it in the lower range, under 17, sell it over 17 up to around 20. This is a great swing trade. It has done this multiple times where it drops under 17, runs up, drops under 17, runs up, drops under 17, runs up. I mean, there are so many swing trades in here. I do think this could be another good instance of that. You want to buy it while it's under 17 and either sell it or potentially hold for the cycle. I personally do think that when Bitcoin breaks new all-time highs, this is when the miners rally. This is when the miners get to new 52-week highs. But it will take until that point. This is really what the Bitcoin miners are waiting for. Now that the halving has taken rewards in half, the market knows that upcoming earnings are going to be a little rough. The market sees that upcoming earnings are going to be unprofitable again. Once Bitcoin breaks new all-time highs, once Bitcoin gets into the mid-70s, into the 80s, more and more of these Bitcoin miners become profitable. I do believe this is what the market is waiting for. The market wants to see Bitcoin getting back to higher prices, getting to those new all-time highs, showing us that these Bitcoin miners have a chance to be profitable in the upcoming quarters. To me, while CleanSpark is in the bottom of this range, it is a buy. These miners to me are still a buy before they go on their next run. Once they go on their next run, once we see stocks like CleanSpark, like Iris Energy gain another 50 to 100%, that's probably when I'll start holding off on them. That's probably when I'm done being a buyer. But to me, that time has not yet come. I do think there is a couple months left at least. Maybe a maximum of 6 months if we really don't move much. Maybe a minimum of another month or 2 months if we do start rallying from here. But make no mistake, these are the final innings of being a buyer on these Bitcoin miners, whether you're talking about CleanSpark, whether you're talking about Iris Energy, Mara, Riot, Bitfarms, whatever miner, doesn't matter. Now I do want to bring up Microstrategy. This is another one I'm bullish on, and from this recent run we are now retracing on the Fibonacci to the 0.382 level. If we don't hold this and hold the 50 MA, you'll see it right there, it pops back in and out. If we don't hold these levels, we might come down to the 0.5 and then the 0.618. But I think Microstrategy could be a great add right here. It's at a 25% discount from its 52-week highs. It's still very bullish. It's in an uptrend. It's riding above its 200 MA and it's still currently above its 50 MA. And I would say they are still ascending. One thing to be aware of is we do have a couple gaps we could potentially fill. We do have a gap here right under this 1300. That would be a fantastic place to pick up some Microstrategy in my opinion. We also have a small gap down right here under like 1200. Watch for these potential gap fills. These could be great entry points. I also want to bring up Coinbase. I don't talk about this one too much. I don't currently hold a position on Coinbase. I have swing traded it in the past, but you'll see that we finally broke out of our descending resistance and we did see a nice change in direction. We started following this uptrend, this ascending channel. It looks like we may be breaking it. Keep an eye on a candle to close out of it. This may just be a false breakout. But keep an eye on how the next candle closes. Do we get the next candle to close under or back in the pattern? That'll be important to watch. Looks like we're breaking the 50 MA. You see a kind of a big reaction on the break of that 50 here. So it may struggle at the 50 MA. It might find resistance at the 50 MA. And watch this white line here. This is a potential bouncing point. We bounced off of it here. We bounced off of it here. Maybe we come down and test it for a third time. Bounce off of it for a third time right around maybe 215. 215 give or take. We come down a little bit more, bounce off of this, and continue our beautiful uptrend. Coinbase is still bullish. It's riding its golden cross from back in 2023, June. It's riding over its 200 MA. It is under its 50 MA, but they are still in the correct order. I wanted to pull up the 50, 100, and 200 EMA as well. You'll see that we are above all three of them. Keep an eye on that 50 MA. Right now it is trying to hold it as support. And then look at how it did here at the 100. It bounced right out that 100 and at this trend level. Bam, bam. So honestly, it looks like it's reacting more on the EMAs rather than the MAs. Definitely keep an eye on both, see how it reacts to those levels. Interestingly enough, from the beginning of our run starting in February, after this retracement, once we started running, you'll see that we retraced right to that 0.5 area, which was also on this ascending support, which was also where that 100 EMA was. So we may be working on a recovery from here. To me, any dip on Coinbase right now in this cycle is a buying opportunity. Any dip on Microstrategy could be a great buying opportunity. Many of these miners are still good buying opportunities in my opinion. I do think there's still a lot of juice left in this cycle. Altcoins are still a great buy in my opinion. Bitcoin still is a good DCA if you're looking 5 years out. Even if you're looking at this cycle, I do think Bitcoin is still a good buy. Let me know what you think about these stocks I covered. How are you feeling about Bitcoin today? Do you think the US could one day utilize Bitcoin to cover our national debt? Or do you think that's just something that's too off the wall? Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Thanks as always for watching guys, and I'll see you on the next one.